Happy Friday and happy Veterans Day to all you basketball fans out there. My name is Nick Marro. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. I am here today for Occupy Fantasy to take a quick look and give you a high-level overview for tonight's 8-game slates on both DraftKings and FanDuel. We're going to walk through injury news, top values, my favorite plays rather quickly. I want to keep this condensed and get as much information into a short period of time as possible. So please bear with me as we go through here. If you're not already a member at Occupy Fantasy, please consider joining. We have the beautiful model you see here where you can sort by value. You can sort by OF index, which is going to show you the best plays on any given slate. As the day progresses, ownership percentages will show up as well, which is priceless, really, when building tournament lineups. We have a lineup builder, single and multi lineup builder. You can kind of sort by risk, which is a different feature than you see on most sites. And we have a premium Discord where you have access to me and other experts for all of our sports that we offer, where you can get one-on-one advice for building lineups, DFS contest selection, really anything. Um, and yeah, that's what it takes to win money in 2022, as I often say. We also have a half-hour window, sometimes a little shorter, where we're answering questions and answers in the Discord, in a voice channel. So you can get any question you need answered for every single slate. And yeah, we got a fun slate tonight. 8 games to me, it's kind of a sweet spot. When they're really small, like last night, you have 4 games, you get a really small margin for error. And then when there's a huge slate, like 13, 15 games we saw earlier in the week, it's very easy to miss out on some of the best plays. There's just too much to cover at times. So I really like these 8 gamers. I think this is, yeah, it's really my favorite. So let's start with injuries. There's a lot already on this slate. I'm going to kind of go game by game. Our injury report sorts by usage. So you can kind of see there's some big ones here. We got Giannis, LeBron. But yeah, let's go game by game. I'm going to kind of jump between DraftKings and FanDuel because I know we have viewers that play on both sites. I like to play on both. But yeah, here we go. So we got Boston and Denver here. And yeah, the big news is Malcolm Brogdon's going to be out. Obviously, Robert Williams is already out for the Celtics, which has created a little bit of a bump for Al Horford. He's not consistently getting there, but I do think he's a decent play. But at point guard, I do think Marcus Smart's going to look better than usual at 5,900. And then guys like Tatum and Brown should see a little bit more usage than we're used to seeing. This is a close matchup, should be a good game. But yeah, with Brogdon out, we can also look to guys like Derek White, assuming he starts. Solid value. I mean, he's been decent. I think he's been hitting value most nights, but only 18, 19 minutes those last 2 games played. That game with Detroit was a blowout where he hit value in only 19 minutes. So if he's going to push 30 minutes here, I do think Derek White's a solid option. But yeah, I mean, the real beneficiaries here are White and Smart in that backcourt. Um, and I think they're priced favorably on both sides. We're really not seeing too many big injuries with Denver today. I know Ish Smith is out. That should create a little bit more run for someone like Bones Highland or Bruce Brown. It's tough to know which of the two you want to go to on a given night. Brown's been a little bit colder. I think he had his bigger games with Highland out, so I'd rather go to Highland if I am trying to pluck something from this Denver backcourt. At only 4,800, he's hitting value consistently, and then we see on FanDuel he's up at 5,800. So this is why it's a good idea to play two sites sometimes. If you really like Bones Highland tonight, maybe load up on him on DK. You could full fade him on FanDuel and not to feel too badly about it. Those are really the only injuries we have to worry about in the first game. But yeah, NBA, it's a fickle beast. I mean, you got to keep your eye on the news throughout the day. That's why it's very valuable to be in our Discord. You can, yeah, you can bounce things off us, and as things change, we'll let you know which value plays are going to be worth getting to. Um, what else? So we also have live odds on the Occupy site. Just to touch on that game quickly again. 230.5 point total. That's very high. Both these teams have been playing a bit quicker this year, so I do like that. And it's nice on this slate. There's no games with a spread in the double digits, so we don't have to worry about any real blowout risk today. Um, but yeah, love the Boston Denver game. I think I'll get back to my favorite plays later, but both Tatum and Jokic should look excellent here. And if you can't afford them, obviously Jaylen Brown's someone to consider. So moving right along, we have the Magic and the Suns. The Magic, not really any new injuries. I mean, Paulo Banchero is going to be questionable here. So that's something certainly to keep an eye on. He's been dominating the usage. Chris Paul, he is listed as, I think, a game time decision. Because if he's out, obviously we could go to Campaign and Devin Booker again. He's not on this injury report. On the injury report on NBA.com that came out, I think 6:30 this morning, he was there. So it sounds like Paul may be good to go. If he's back, that's a bit of a downgrade to Booker and Payne. I certainly wouldn't want to play Campaign if Chris Paul's in there, but if he's questionable, we should keep an eye on it. And if he's out, those two guys are going to look great once again. Um, what else? Is there anything else in Phoenix? I mean, Cam Johnson's out for the year. That's a slight boost to a guy like Mikal Bridges. But really, that's it. I mean, all the starters here are going to look decent. This is a favorable matchup on the road. They did have to travel to Orlando, so that's maybe why the spread's so close. Obviously, Phoenix is probably the better basketball team here. But yeah, with Banchero questionable, I think we need to keep an eye on things in Orlando because if he's out, Franz Wagner is going to see a nice bump. Wendell Carter Jr. is going to see a nice bump, and a fan favorite Bull as well is someone we're going to be able to consider if we see him slide into that starting lineup. So definitely something to keep an eye on. I just want to take a quick look at the prices over on DK for this game. Yeah, Booker's price is up a bit, but if Paul's out, I do think he's one of the better pay-ups in that range. Wendell Carter looks fine. Bull's more expensive on DraftKings than FanDuel. I think a lot of guys today are going to be more expensive on DraftKings than FanDuel. It just seems that DK really tightened up their pricing for this slate, which is fine. But yeah, another piece to keep an eye on, certainly that Banchero news. And then on the Sun side, Chris Paul. Chris Paul could quickly change the slate. And the good thing here is that both these games that we've discussed so far start at 7 o'clock, so we should have that information going in. So moving into Detroit at the Knicks, Cade Cunningham's listed as questionable. If he's out, pretty much everyone in this backcourt is going to look better. Jaden Ivey, Sadiq Bey, wide range of outcomes for him, but he has some really big games at times. And with Cade out, I think we could see enough usage to smash value at this DK price. Yeah, we've seen him hit 30 fantasy points a couple times already this season. We've seen him hit 50 in the past, so that's certainly something to consider. And yeah, the Knicks have Quentin Grimes sideline, Mitchell Robinson sideline. So the Knicks have gone away from Isaiah Hartenstein as their starting center. He has not been producing as a result. If we see him slide back in the starting lineup, he's certainly someone to consider. Tom Thibodeau, pretty fickle guy though. Yeah, so I could see him changing things up quickly. No pun intended with Emmanuel Quickly, maybe not being a play I'm interested in tonight. But yeah, Jericho Sims, if you're desperate for a punted center, I think he's okay, but really not a guy I'm trusting consistently. And just to jump over to FanDuel quickly, we have, yeah, if Cade's out, it's really Jaden Ivey. I don't mind Sadiq Bey. Let's see, which point guards could slide in the starting lineup? Alec Burks is a game time decision. I mean, I'm kind of surprised. Yeah, I don't think he'd see big run here. I don't like Killian Hayes, even if Cunningham's out on an 8-gamer. That's just not value I'm interested in. But yeah, let's move right along here. Yeah, so for the Knicks, the starters are all going to look solid. Keep an eye on that center spot. Um, And then on Detroit, if Cade's out, all the other starters are going to look better than they would have otherwise. So it's a decent game to keep an eye on. I'm imagining that's one of the lower totals on the slate, though. So let's just keep that in mind. NBA odds. 225.5. That's not bad at all. The Phoenix Orlando game is actually way lower. So if Banchero and Paul are both in, that's probably not a game I'm going to be super focused on. But kind of leaving that open, you could focus on news as it breaks in the later games, and we certainly will have news in those later games today. So what's next? Oh, we got a good one next here. So the Bucks are headed to San Antonio to take on the Spurs, where I know our injury report has this right up top. Giannis and his 45% usage rate is going to be out for this game. Also, Drew Holiday is going to be out. And he has around a 30% usage rate this season. We saw this game go off the other day. This went to double overtime, so keep that in mind. But I still think that a lot of the better value plays on this slate are going to come from this game. Javon Carter's really stepped into this role with Drew out. as kind of leading the offense. I like him a lot here, around 5K on both sides. We're getting him sub 4K last slate, but I'm totally fine paying 5K for him if more value doesn't open up. Same can be said for Grayson Allen. I like him in the starting lineup better. He looked good last time out. Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis. I mean, Bobby Portis is up to 7K on DK. I know he's only 5,800 on FanDuel, so that's another play maybe. I think you kind of need some exposure on DK, but I definitely like him better on FanDuel. But where Lopez is cheap, I mean, there's some good center plays on the slate, namely Jokic. But if you can afford to go down at center, I mean, Lopez has a very high ceiling. He showed that last game going over 50 fantasy points. And he's priced much better than Portis is on DK. So just something to keep an eye on. We saw a lot of other secondary guys hit value. I mean, Beauchamp, Nora, Hill. The thing with Beauchamp, I mean, he's not a great fantasy point per minute producer, but if he's going to start, I do think he's someone we want to consider. Not really someone I'm rushing to regardless. It's really going to be those starters, the other starters, Portis, Lopez, Hill, and Carter. Then off the bench, I mean, I don't know. I'm really just not that excited to play any of these guys except for Jordan Noor because he does have a very high fantasy point per minute rate, but the minutes just haven't been there for him. So he's going to be tough to trust. So really the priorities are going to be those guards, Allen and Carter. And I do like Lopez a lot. I do think Portis is solid, but I like him much better on FanDuel. But it's nice we already have that news. We don't have to wait all day to see if Giannis and Drew are going to be out tonight. Still no Middleton either. I think he should be back the next couple weeks. So Milwaukee will be nice to get healthy for them. But yeah, so the Spurs on the other side, I think they're slight underdogs at home against this banged up Milwaukee team, but I think that's a good thing. And this game should stay close. No big injuries for the Spurs. I mean, Zach Collins is out, which could mean a couple extra minutes for Jakob Poeltl, but I don't know that that's something we can rely on. Let's see here. Yeah, 6,600 for Poeltl. I think I'd rather go to Lopez in most cases, but I'm pretty confident in saying that Poeltl's going to be lower owned of the two. So if you want to get a little bit different in tournaments, similar upside, similar play. And I think with Zach Collins out, we do get a few extra minutes. Keldon Johnson should be under the rim a bit more. He's fine. But yeah, really, there's no injury opening up value here. Devin Vassell has been back and looking good for them, so he's going to take up a lot of that usage, and I do think he's a good play tonight. Um, let's see here. Toronto. Yep, Toronto at OKC. Still no Pascal Siakam. Fred VanVleet has been electric. I think you can play him on both sides. He's getting most of that usage that's left over with Siakam sideline. Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent, all decent plays. I don't mind Chris Boucher, but his price is up and he's pretty inconsistent, so that's a tough one to trust. Let's see. Yeah, so I mean, VanVleet looks really good on DK at 8,400. I think that's one of the better plays here. And then on the OKC side, still no Darius Bazley. And then just the guys who are out for a long time, like Chet Holmgren and things like that, who's out for the whole year. So yeah, I mean, with Bazley out, maybe you get something at the wing, like in a Kenrich Williams, but I don't know. There's much better value in a lot of these other games. I'd rather just pay up for Shea and kind of move on when I'm talking about OKC here. Only 9,200. Not as consistent as some of the other pay ups in this range, but he is coming off back-to-back 50 fantasy point games. So yeah, nothing crazy in this one, but I do think Fred VanVleet is one of the better plays on the slate in terms of upside. And yeah, still no Precious Achua, still no Kem Birch. So maybe Koloko looks good here again. He's been really inconsistent, but he's flashed the ceiling. I don't mind him in tournaments. Yeah, 9, 10 fantasy points, really not someone you're rushing to, but when you could get an outlier game like he had against the Bulls on November 6th, that could win you a slate. So maybe someone to just consider. I'm not rushing to get there. I think Boucher is probably safer. And yeah, while we're here, I mean, Otto Porter's been closing lately. Still not getting that many minutes, but he's a decent punt type play. I just don't think we need him necessarily on an 8-game slate. So it's more so the starters from Toronto for me, and then Shea running it back. Nice. We're making good good timing today, guys. Again, please click the like button. Please click subscribe. It helps us get to the top of those YouTube algorithms so we could give you more content like this, more information, help you win more money. And if you're not a member at Occupy Fantasy, please check the description below for instructions on signing up. You get access to our model. You get access to our top value plays, ownership percentages, lineup builder, everything like that. And then the one-on-one access in Discord to help you build lineups is certainly always going to be helpful. I know members have been crushing it lately. We've had a lot of fun in there. Um, but yeah, just join. I mean, we're more affordable than a lot of our competitors, and I think it's a better product personally. So yeah, and if you can't, like and subscribe, and if you can, like and subscribe again, that definitely helps us. So then we have the Timberwolves, who have been terrible lately, at the Memphis Grizzlies. Nas Reed's out for Minnesota. That's not a huge thing. I think it should be a few more minutes for Jaden McDaniels or Kyle Anderson, but I'm really not crazy about either. Cat has been okay, not as good with Gobert in there. Anthony Edwards has been okay, not as good with Gobert back. But yeah, Edwards' price has come back down a little. He hasn't hit 30 fantasy points in like over a week though, so really not rushing to anyone there. And I mean, on a slate with so many teams with injuries, I don't know that we need to rush to Timberwolves as they're at full health. Um, and then opposite them, the Grizzlies, yes, just the same old stuff. No Danny Green, no Jaren Jackson. So the starters look good here. I like Ja, I like Desmond Bane. Um, decent game. I think this is going to be one of the lower owned games. So from a tournament angle, there's certainly some merit to going here. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's just tough to find value. It's like most of the guys in this game are priced where they should be. So not crazy about that one. Cleveland at Golden State. Yeah, nothing new. Golden State's without DiVincenzo. Oh, DiVincenzo's back for the Warriors, which could cut into some of the guard minutes for guys like Jordan Poole, maybe a little bit, maybe a few less minutes for Curry if they want to rest him. But again, this is another game where most everyone seems to be priced where they should be. Um, and then on the Cavs side, still no Ricky Rubio. He's going to be out for a while. Is Garland still cheap on DK? I know he burnt most of us the other night, but this is a case of recency bias here. If people don't want to go back to Garland, yeah, the price is up to 7,400, but he still has a pretty high ceiling, so I don't mind him as a play. But yeah, another game where most guys are healthy. Then we can move into this final game where that is not the case because LeBron James is going to be out for the Lakers tonight. So if LeBron's out, and he is, that always means Anthony Davis is someone we want to look at. Um, the Lakers came out and said Russ Westbrook's going to continue to come off the bench even when James is hurt. Russ is now the favorite for the sixth man of the year. This guy's really turned his season around, is coming off the bench. It seems to have rejuvenated him. He's priced favorably on both sites. Davis kind of expensive, but I like him on both sides with LeBron out. I certainly think you could go there. He's listed as probable with a back injury, but everyone knows Davis is almost always on the injury report. One we have to keep an eye on is Lonnie Walker. If he's out, we could see more usage to some of these secondary guys like Austin Reeves, Troy Brown if he starts. But really, it's going to be AD and Russ for me for the Lakers tonight. And then on the Kings side, I mean, yeah, there's no one worth mentioning, just a few G League guys that are hurt. So yeah, let's hop into the Occupy model quickly here. You could sort by OF index. Let me just refresh to see if any data is updated. But yeah, when you sort by OF index, you're kind of getting a gauge of the best plays. It takes upside first and then pricing second. So we're seeing kind of the usual suspects up top: Nikola Jokic, John Morant, Fred VanVleet, Jason Tatum. Karl Anthony Towns is a decent play here, mostly because of his price. I would rather get to an Anthony Davis. And then Booker, again, keep your eye on that Chris Paul news. But yeah, a lot of good stuff to like up top for sure. I do like Joker a lot against Boston. I think if you can afford him, feel free to fit him in there. But we're probably prioritizing AD here, and we'll keep an eye on ownership throughout the day. But yeah, it's going to be easier to fit like Anthony Davis with Jokic on FanDuel than it is DK, where they're both sub 11K. 11.7 is expensive on DraftKings, but as more value opens up, that's something we can consider. Let's sort by DK value quickly. We're seeing Cam Reddish shoot to the top of the board, Thad Young. Two guys who have been pretty inconsistent. I think you could look to them in tournaments, but really it's these Milwaukee guys that we're going to be using more. Grayson Allen, I already mentioned Javon Carter. His game last time out was certainly an outlier. He had over like 50 something fantasy points, but he really only needs 30 to hit value today. Al Horford with Malcolm Brogdon out should see a bit extra usage. And I already mentioned Fred VanVleet as a play I like a lot with Siakam out. The fact he's popping at the top of the value model in the 8K range tells you how good of a play he really is. I love him here. And then let's take a quick look at FanDuel. Yeah, Al Horford way up at top. He's going to be super chalky. I do like him. I'll take a quick look at Horford's game log. Early in the season with Williams out, he wasn't really producing, but lately we have seen him consistently hitting value. At 5K, he's hit value in kind of 4 of his last 5 games played. Certainly someone to consider. And Tatum's flashed a decent ceiling. He had a terrible first half last time out. I think he had like single-digit fantasy points, and he finished with 40 something. So yeah, I do like Tatum here. I do like a lot from this game. Um, but yeah, the plays are pretty straightforward as it stands. But as is always the case, news is kind of gonna guide your hand for building lineups. So definitely get in that Discord if you're not there already. Um, and yeah, let's have some fun tonight. Let's make some money. Once again, happy Veterans Day. Happy Friday. My name is Nick Marro. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. And yeah, be sure to sign up at Occupy Fantasy. If you're not already a member, you get access to our models, you get access to our projections, ownership projections. That is, we have our lineup builder. And yeah, just a great group of guys that like to win, and we got some great girls in there too. I mean, don't be shy. If you want to get better at DFS, it's certainly a place to be. Um, yeah, have fun, guys. Good luck tonight, and let's get that money.